Okay, greetings guys. Good day. Earlier this morning, we have discussed the difference between the classical and positivist school. We just have to enumerate the stigmata which Cesar Lombroso enumerated. These are, by the way, not discussed earlier but was written in your book. So let's just enumerate them. We have here the stigmata related to an atavistic criminal. So these are body physiques present to atavistic criminal. First is the deviation in head size and shape from type common to race and region from which criminal came. So means to say if the suspect has a larger forehead compared to those persons in the locality who has normal size forehead, then he has that deviation head size. He has the atavistic criminal characteristic. We also have the asymmetry of the face. Means to say the left and the right portion of the face is not similar in shape. So pwedeng square yung kabila, yung kabila naman is oblong. So asymmetry, hindi siya symmetry, hindi siya pareho ng hugis. Eye defects and peculiarities. So meron siyang eye defects. Minsan meron yung isa na isang mata lang ang gumagana. So kung titingin siya, para siyang duling, ganyan, di ba? Meron din naman yung crossed eye. Iba yung direksyon ng mata niya, pero iba pala yung nakikita niya. Yung parang ang tingin mo is sa'yo siya nakatitig. Pero yun pala is doon pala sa katabi mo. Eye defects. We also have the excessive dimension of the jaw and cheekbones. So, maluwag yung dimension ng kanyang panga. We also have ears of unusual size. So, sobrang laking tenga. Occasionally very small or outstanding from the head as to those of chimpanzee. So, mayroon tayong sobrang laki, mayroon din naman yung sobrang liit na tenga. However, we have this belief na yung mga mahaba ang tenga is mahaba din daw ang buhay. Ewan ko lang kung totoo rin yun sa obserbasyon nyo. Nose twisted. So, meron tayong, especially sa mga matatangos ang ilong, pero twisted. So, meron siyang upturned nose and flattened in tips or aquiline or beak-like in murderers or with a tip rising like peak from swollen nostrils. So, flattened ang tenga ay ang ilong ng mga magnanakaw. So, this explains kung bakit maraming mandurukot dito sa Pilipinas. So, thief. Aquiline naman or beak-like for murderers. Yung mala-ilong ni Triple H, yung parot, yung parang ganon. Murderers. We have sa lips, we have fleshy, swollen, and protruding lips. So, makapal ang labi, swollen, fleshy, parang yung comics ng Marites. So, pwede yun. Kasi yung ginagawa ng Marites, libelous yun, di ba? So, gumagawa ng kwentong hindi totoo, libel yung kaso niya, criminal din siya. So, pwede yan. Pouches in the cheek like those of some animal. So, they have pouches in the cheeks. Yung parang medyo may muscle yung cheeks nila. Peculiarities in the plate, such as are found in reptiles and cleft palate. So palate. Peculiarities in the palate found in reptiles. Yun. And chin protruding or excessively long or short and flat as apes. So yun din yung mga differences in their chin. So meron tayong yung mahaba, yung double chin, and yung long, flat or short chins. Abnormal dentition. So when we say abnormal dentition, abnormal yung kanyang ngipin. May iba yung kanyang ngipin. Abundance, variety, and precocity of wrinkles. So marami siyang obvious na wrinkles. Anomalies of their hair, marked by characteristic of the opposite sex. So pagka lalaki ka, tapos long hair ka, abay may kakaiba. Pagka babae ka, tapos short hair ka, abay medyo naiiba ka. So abnormal characteristics of the opposite sex. Defects of the thorax, such as too many or too few ribs or supernumerary nipples. So yung marami ang nipples, dalawa lang dapat ang nipples. Baka yung iba may tatlo, may apat. Tapos may iba na mas marami ang rib counts, may iba na mas kokonti. So may defect sa kanilang ribs. Invasion of sex characters in pelvic organ. So inversion of sex characteristics or characters in pelvic organs. So naiba yung hugis ng uh, private organ nila. Excessive length of arms. So sobrang habang kamay. Kaya nga sinasabi, ang haba ng kamay mo, uh, talks about, ay napaka magnanakaw mo, mandidekwat ka. Ganon, excessive length of arms. Supernumerary fingers and toes. So, ang mahaba ng toes and fingers or sobra ang number. So, imbis na 5, may 6. Yan. 6 na fingers. Imbalance of the hemisphere of the brain. Asymmetry of the cranium. So, means to say, imbalanced hemisphere of the brain, we have the asymmetry of the cranium. So, mas malaki yung left portion of your brain sa right portion of your brain. So, those are the stigmata of criminals as enumerated by Lombroso. So, let us discuss now the table on your page 34 of your book, the classical versus positivist difference. So, on focus, under the classical school, the focus of the classical school is on the crime and criminal act, not on the man. While on the positive school, the focus is on the man, stating that the man is not rational, he is not, he does not have the free will to do such crime. So, under the view of human nature, criminals are hedonistic, free will, rationality, morally responsible for their own behavior. But under the positivist school, human nature are malleable, determined by biological, internal, psychological, internal, and socio-environment, external factors. No moral responsibility. So therefore, there are internal and some external factors that cause human being from committing crimes. So they that they do not have free will. They do not have the reason to commit crime. But it is because of the influence of their biological, psychological, and social environment. Kaya nung nasabi natin kanina, if caused by social environment, pwede yung person is forced at gunpoint to do such crime. So that's one. And another dito is psychological. Yung mga baliw, di ba? nakasalubong niyo yung baliw, bigla kayong sinuntok, nahuli niyo, pwede niyo ipakulong for rehabilitation purposes. Pero hindi pwedeng, kahit nakasuhan niyo yan, madi-dismiss. It's either madi-dismiss yung kaso niya or maa-acquit kasi wala nga siyang intention to commit crime. And we know for a fact that in our revised penal code, intent is an element. So, pagka na-eliminate na yung intent, means to say, isang element ang na-eliminate, means to say, hindi na pwede yung crime. It's either madi-dismiss or the person will be, or the accused will be acquitted. Under the view of justice system, under classical school, social contract so exists to protect society, due process and concern with civil rights, restrictions on system. So we have this social contract. In the positivist school, scientific treatment system to cure pathologies and rehabilitate offenders. We have no concern with civil rights. So, yun ang difference sa classical school and positivist school in view of the justice system. So, in justice system, we have social contract and we have civil rights sa classical school. Sa positivist school, no civil rights. It focused on scientific treatment. On the form of law, under classical school, we have statutory law. Means to say, statutory law, it is the law within a state. Exact specialization of illegal acts and sanctions. But here, under positivist school, it talks about social law. Illegal acts defined by analogy. Scientific expert determine social harm and proper form of treatment. So those are the difference between classical school and positivist school. Statutory law or uh, law based on the law of the state sa classical school. Sa positivist school, it is about the social law. Means to say, it is about the social norms, not necessarily about the law of the state. It can be all about unwritten laws, social norms. Ganyan. So, dito sa barangay na to, bawal ang umuwi ng late. So, that is a form of social law, not necessarily state law, di ba? So, that is now under positivist school. Pero pagka sa classical school, whatever state law was violated, that is now the concentration of our uh, discussion. Whether or not to decide whether or not the person is a criminal or not. Whether or not that person committed a crime or not. We base it on the statutory law or law within that state. That is a classical. On purpose of sentencing, punishment for deterrences or sentences are determinate. This to say fixed length. However, in our positivist school, the punishment is for treatment and reformation. Sentences are indeterminate, kumbaga hindi siya fixed, and focus is on treatment, reformation, or rehabilitation of the offender. So parang yung baliw, gumawa ng krimen, kukulong ba natin? Hindi. Ano ang punishment niya ngayon? Rehabilitation, gagamutin, di ba? So treatment, yun ang punishment niya. Pero sa classical theory, ang punishment ng nagnakaw is kulong, imprisonment, to deter other offenders from committing the same. And at the same time, it deters the offender from repeating the said crime, from committing it again. So, purpose of school. The classical school has the purpose of reforming and humanizing the legal and penal system. So, to reform and humanize the legal and penal systems. But the purpose of our positivist school is to apply the scientific method to the study of crime and criminality. So those are two differences. So we have to elevate under classical school, we reform and humanize the legal and penal system, di ba? So one factor here is we criminalize an act so that person would not commit such act. And sometimes we also elevate the punishment. Dinaragdagan natin yung punishment so as to deter offenders from committing the same. Pero dito sa positivist school, we apply scientific method to study crime and criminality. So dapat it must be based on statistics, on data. So from that data, we can decide whether or not a certain act is a crime or not. Or pwede natin gamitin yung scientific study to decide whether or not that punishment is uh, appropriate or not. So yan ang sinasabi ng dalawang school. Under criminological experts, we have philosophers and social reformers under the classical school. Under the positivist school, the experts here, Cesar Lombroso, Garofalo, and Ferry, are scientists. They are treatment experts. So those are the difference. And under the age of existence, both schools existed during the age of enlightenment, during the age of reason. We have here on your book the third school, the Chicago School. The Chicago School arose in the early 20th century through the work of Robert Ezra Hart and Ernest Burgess, the other urban sociologists at University of Chicago. In the 1920s, Park and Burgess identified 5 concentric zones that often exist as cities grow, including the zone in transition, which was identified as most volatile and subject to disorder. In the 1940s, Henry Mackay and Clifford R. Shaw focused on juvenile delinquents, finding that they were concentrated in the zone of transition. So Chicago school sociologists adopted a social ecology approach to studying cities and postulated that urban neighborhoods with high levels of poverty often experiences breakdown in the social structure and institution such as family and schools. So means to say there are lots of factors of crime causation. So ang dami niyang sinabi dito. Yung neighborhood, urban neighborhood, mas prominent sa crime. Poverty also causes crime. This results in social disorganization, which reduces the ability of this institution to control behavior and create an environment ripe for deviant behavior. Also known as ecological school. So, Chicago School or Ecological School, it advanced the idea that human behavior was at least partially, so hindi huli, hindi buo, it is at least, human behavior is at least partially determined by social structure. So when you say social structure, structure of the society. So what is this social structure? It talks about the society. So it is all about external factors. Ano ba yung mga external factors ng behavior? It states that human behavior is learned. It is learned from the community, from the neighborhood. What are the internal factors? of human behavior, about biology, about genetics, internal yung mga yan. When we say genetics and heredity, means to say, namamana daw natin yung behavior natin. So, kung ano yung behavior na mama natin, eh, ganun din tayo, namamana, internal. Psychology, kung ano yung mentalidad mo, yung pag-iisip mo, eh, yun din yung magiging behavior mo. So, the Chicago School notes that human beings adapt to their environment. A destructive social environment such as community poverty, yan, for instance, leads to a breakdown in social structure. So if you are living in a slum area, the tendency there is you would be also breakdown. So there would be breakdown of law in slum areas. So maraming krimen dyan. This environment both hampers the ability of a society to deal effectively with crime that results and fosters a criminal mentality in the community that drives crime within. So, pagka walang crime, ay pagka walang law, yan, paulit-ulit tayo, if there will be no law guiding the people, or, ayan, we will be having an anomy. Anomy refers to the breakdown of law. So, pagka nag-break lahat ng law, means to say, hindi na nasusunod ng tao yung batas, ang magiging mindset na ng tao dyan is survival of the fittest. Yan, di ba? So, ang tao, magiging uh, rule of the jungle na ang basihan ng pamumuhay. So, parang sina Lion King, di ba? Survival of the fittest, rule of the jungle. So, yung batas ng jungle ang ipapatupad. So, for the person to succeed, he must be strong. So, dapat malakas ka for you to succeed. Di ba? Parang yung prey lang. Pagka lion ka, you survive by eating your prey. So, means to say, parang papatayin mo yung mga mas mahihina sa'yo for you to succeed. Kumbaga yan, ang survival of the fittest. Only the strong survives. So, guys, I have instructed you to finish your activities from 1.1 to 1.4. I only have received your 1.1. Follow up ko lang, class representative, kindly send me the link to your 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you and see you next meeting.